If your bottom navigation looks like this, or even this, you need to watch this video because right now, your users are probably suffering. Every time they open your app, they feel like this. A bad bottom navigation doesn't just look messy and unappealing. It makes your app frustrating to use and confusing to navigate. And when that happens, users don't just get annoyed. They leave and find something better. But here's the good news. Fixing this is easier than you think, if you know the right UI design principles. And today, I'm going to show you exactly how to design a bottom navigation bar that's not just good, but so intuitive and smooth that people will love using your app. These are the same design principles used by the best apps in the world. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to design a bottom nav bar that feels amazing. Oh, and stick around till the end, because there's one big mistake that even pro designers keep making. And trust me, you don't want to be that designer. Now, one thing that can really take your bottom navigation to the next level is adding subtle micro interactions, like this. Looks great, right? It's those small details that make an app feel polished and responsive. But before you get too excited about animations, there's something even more important: the fundamentals. Because if you don't get the basics right, no amount of fancy micro interactions will save your navigation. So let's start from the ground up. When you open a mobile app, you'll usually see two types of navigation: top navigation, which sits at the top, and bottom navigation, which sits at the bottom of your screen. They look similar on both iOS and Android, but here's something that confuses a lot of designers. On iOS, it's called a tab bar. On Android, it's called bottom navigation. Throughout this video, I'll just call it the bottom navigation bar to keep it simple. Now, a lot of designers think the bottom navigation bar is just buttons at the bottom. But the truth is, it's so much more. It's actually the backbone of your app's usability. Here's why. Your bottom navigation bar represents the top-level structure of your app. It tells users what's important and helps them move quickly between the core sections. And here's something you really need to understand. This is prime real estate. Your bottom navigation is one of the most tapped, most used areas in your entire app. So every icon, every label, every micro interaction, you have to be strategic, because a well-designed bottom navigation can make your app feel effortless. A bad one? It drives people away. So how do you decide what to put in your bottom navigation bar? Let's break it down step by step. Tip: prioritize the most important and frequently used screens or actions. The bottom navigation should only contain the most essential destinations in your app, the core features users interact with most often. Good candidates for bottom nav: home, main feed, dashboard, or landing screen. Search, discover, if users frequently search or browse content. Add, create, if users regularly add posts, messages, or content. Messages, notifications, if social interaction is a big part of the app. Profile, user account settings, history, and saved content. Bad candidates for bottom nav: help, FAQ. It needs to be in profile or side menu. Log out. No one logs out that frequently. Keep it elsewhere. Legal pages, privacy policy, terms, etc. Nobody needs these at their fingertips. Introducing elements like a back or forward button, or even logos, which are traditionally part of the top navigation, in the bottom navigation bar is a practice best avoided. This approach aligns with Jacob's Law, which suggests that users spend most of their time on other websites or apps. Therefore, they prefer your site or app to work the same way as others they already know. Cluttering the bottom navigation with elements typically found at the top can confuse users, as it goes against the familiar navigation patterns they're accustomed to. On the other hand, including a call to action (CTA) button in the bottom navigation is a smart move. These buttons are usually placed in the center of prominence and ease of access. CTAs like create an order or post serve a dual purpose. They stand out to the user, encouraging action, and their central positioning makes them easily reachable, especially on larger devices. Tip: understand who are your users. Before you design anything, especially your bottom navigation, you need to know who your users are. Who's your target audience? Because this will shape everything about your design choices. Ask yourself, how comfortable are they with technology? How old are they? What problems are you helping them solve? What devices do they use? Why does this matter? Because even small decisions, like adding labels to your icons, depend on your users. If your audience is younger and tech-savvy, you might get away with minimalist approach and show just icons. But if your users are older and less familiar with apps, labels below icons can make navigation clearer and help them feel more confident using your app. Tip: choose the right sizes, padding, and margins. Creating the right autonomy for your bottom navigation is like crafting a tailor-made suit. It needs to fit perfectly with the device it's designed for. In the image, you can see detailed properties for navigation on the iPhone 14 and iPhone 15 Pro. But these are guidelines, not rigid rules. The key is to adapt and experiment to find what works best for each device. Why does this matter? Well, on smaller devices, a more compact navigation bar might be more appropriate. A bulky bar can eat up valuable screen space, making the app feel cramped. The goal is to find the right balance between visibility and accessibility without overshadowing the main content. Generally, an icon size of 24 pixels strikes a good balance. It's large enough to be recognizable, but doesn't dominate the screen. The home indicator, that dark bar at the bottom, typically takes up around 34 pixels. When it comes to labels, the sweet spot is around 10 to 12 pixels. Smaller text can cause accessibility issues, making it hard for some users to read. On the flip side, larger text can create clutter and draw attention away from the main content. Remember, labels are there to guide, not to overshadow. Designing for 2 to 3 mobile device widths is a good practice. It ensures your navigation bar looks great and functions well across a range of devices. If you're designing a bottom navigation bar for modern smartphones, especially on iPhones and Android devices without physical buttons, there's one detail that many junior designers forget: the home indicator. That thin line at the bottom of the screen, that's the home indicator. It lets users swipe up to go back to the home screen, and it sits right below your bottom navigation bar. So here's what you need to know. You should not modify or hide the home indicator. You should not overlap your navigation bar onto it. Why does this matter? Because if your bottom navigation is too low or feels cramped against the home indicator, users might accidentally trigger the home indicator when trying to tap your nav icons. Find your app harder to use, especially one-handed. Feel like your design is broken or unfinished. What to do instead? Respect the device's safe area, also called the safe zone. Make sure your bottom navigation sits above the home indicator so there's enough spacing. Test it on a real device. Use Figma Mirror to see your design directly on your phone. What looks good in Figma on your screen can feel completely different when you're actually tapping it on a real phone. Tip: limit the number of tabs to 5. Having too many tabs in the bottom navigation can lead to a cluttered and confusing user experience. Overloading the space with excessive options not only makes each tab smaller and harder to accurately tap, especially on mobile devices, but also overwhelms users with too many choices. This can lead to what's known as choice paralysis, where users find it difficult to make a decision because of the sheer number of options presented to them. The golden rule? Aim for 3 to 5 tabs, max 6 tabs. This range is the sweet spot for bottom navigation. It gives users enough options without crowding the space. With fewer tabs, each one has more breathing room, making them easier to tap and reducing accidental clicks. This also makes your app feel more organized and easier to navigate. Focus on what matters most. Choose tabs that are essential to your app's core functions and what users access most often. This way, your users have everything they need at their fingertip, without the extra clutter. Tip: design thumb-friendly tap areas. A common convention is to use a tap area that is large enough to be easily tapped with a thumb. This usually means having a tap area of at least 44 pixels by 44 pixels. This size is not just a random choice. It's based on the average size of a human thumb, which ensures that most users can comfortably and accurately tap the navigation items without accidentally hitting the wrong one. Why is this important? First, it improves the overall usability of your app. Users are likely to navigate using their thumbs, especially on smaller devices. A larger tap area reduces the chance of errors and frustration, making the app more user-friendly. Second, it enhances accessibility. Not all users have the same level of dexterity, and a generous tap area ensures that the app is more accessible to people with varying motor abilities. In contrast, a smaller tap area, like 24 pixels by 24 pixels, might lead to frequent mistaps and a poor user experience. Enjoying the tips so far? That's awesome. But let's be real. Watching a few tips is great, but what is really going to make a difference is knowing how to put it all together. That's where a lot of designers get stuck. You pick up bits and pieces, but when you sit down to design, something still feels off. That's exactly why we created the UIUX Playbook, to give you clear, practical techniques and real examples that show you how to design UIs that look clean, modern, and professional, so your work stands out and looks right every time. We've had so much amazing feedback from designers who said that after reading the playbook, they went from struggling with designs that just didn't look right to creating work that looks amazing, and that they're finally proud to share. If you want to check it out, there's a special discount for you. Use Level Up 40 at checkout to get 40% off. And if you're curious, you can also download a free preview first. You'll find everything linked in the description below. Tip: differentiate active and inactive states. Differentiating the active state in bottom navigation is essential for creating a clean user experience. It's about making it immediately obvious to the user where they are in the app. A smart way to do this is to change the style and color of the active icon. Imagine an icon that shifts from an outline to a filled version, along with a noticeable change in color. This visual cue instantly draws the user's attention to their current location. To further enhance this distinction, you can also make the labeled text for the active icon darker and thicker. This simple adjustment reinforces the user's focus on the active state. The combination of a transformed icon style, a standout color, and bolder text works effectively to differentiate the active tab from the inactive ones. Conversely, a design that only alters the text, leaving the icon unchanged, might not be distinct enough. In such cases, users might take longer to identify their current position in the app, potentially leading to a slower and more frustrating navigation experience. It's important to strike a balance and ensure that the active state stands out clearly for effortless navigation. It's also perfectly acceptable to keep the icon outlined instead of filling it in, as long as you change its color. The key is to apply at least 2 visual changes, such as adjusting the icon's color and making the text bolder. This dual change ensures users can effortlessly distinguish between active and inactive tabs, enhancing their navigation experience in your app. Tip: choose simple and familiar icons. When selecting icons for your bottom navigation bar, the best approach is to prioritize familiarity and simplicity. Choose icons that users can instantly recognize and that accurately represent their function. A classic example is using a magnifying glass for the search function. It's a universally understood symbol, making it far more effective than less familiar options like binoculars. The simplicity of each icon is also key. Complex designs or overly artistic interpretations can confuse users. The goal is to enable users to understand and navigate your app with minimal effort or thought. Simple icons achieve this by being easy to identify at a glance. Tip: keep navigation labels short and sweet. When it comes to designing your bottom navigation bar, less is often more. Opt for concise, single-line labels to keep the design neat and effective. Avoid long labels that spill over into 2 lines. They can clutter the screen and overwhelm your users. They also tend to make the navigation bar too big, which can throw off the balance of your app's layout. Short labels keep things simple, helping users make quicker, more instinctive choices. They also contribute to a clean, contemporary aesthetic, ensuring your app is both stylish and functional. Tip: keep it clean and simple. A cluttered or overwhelming design can hurt the user experience. Avoid adding unnecessary elements like boxes around your tabs, as these can create visual noise. Instead, strive for a clean, minimalist look that guides users effortlessly through your app. The goal is to design a navigation bar that's intuitive and unobtrusive, allowing users to focus on what matters most, the content of your app. Tip: stick to one icon style, except for the selected state. Mixing filled and outline icons in the same navigation bar is like inviting guests to a black tie event only to have someone show up in beachwear. To avoid this visual mismatch, stick to a consistent style of icons throughout your navigation. If you decide on outline icons, use them consistently across all tabs. This creates a harmonious and visually balanced look. However, there's a clever exception: the selected state. Here, switching an outline icon to a filled version is a fantastic way to highlight the active tab. It's like giving that tab a special badge of honor, making it stand out in a subtle yet effective way. Also, be mindful of the complexity of your icons. Consistency isn't just about style, it's also about complexity. If one icon is simple and clean, the others should follow suit. Mixing a minimal icon with a more detailed one can throw off the visual harmony of your navigation bar. Tip: avoid using too many colors. Using too many colors in your bottom navigation, or giving each tab its own color, may seem like a fun idea, but it usually does more harm than good. Instead of helping users, it creates visual chaos. Suddenly, navigation becomes a guessing game of colors rather than something that feels natural and easy. Here's the thing: you want your navigation to feel like part of the app. Seamless, not loud. When every tab is a different color, it pulls attention away from what actually matters, the content. It can even mess with your brand's look, making your app feel less polished and harder to recognize. The better approach? Stick to your brand's color palette. Keep it simple and consistent. That way, your navigation feels clean, your app feels professional, and your brand stays strong. Tip: use notification badges in bottom navigation to highlight updates. Using notification badges in your bottom navigation bar is a great way to signal new updates or messages to users. These badges can be simple colored circles, or they can include numbers to indicate the quantity of new updates. Badges should be small enough to stay subtle, but large enough to be noticeable. Placing them in the top right corner of the icon is a common practice, as it's naturally eye-catching. Here's a pro tip: adding an outline around the badge can make it stand out even more and give it a polished look. If you're using numbers within the badge to indicate the count of new updates, ensure they are easy to read. Avoid overly small or stylized fonts that might be hard to decipher at a glance. Choose a badge color that stands out against the navigation bar and icon colors, yet still feels consistent with the overall app design. Finally, only use badges for essential notifications. Overloading users with badges for every minor update can lead to notification fatigue, reducing the effectiveness of this feature. Tip: experiment with creative layouts, but with usability being your priority. While standard layouts are tried and tested for usability, stepping outside the box with a creative and beautiful design can give your app a distinctive edge. The key is to strike a balance between aesthetics and usability. You can add value to your app by experimenting with different shapes, positions, or even dynamic interactions for your bottom navigation. Maybe you're thinking about a unique icon arrangement or an unconventional bar shape. These creative touches can make your app memorable. However, here's a word of caution: never sacrifice usability for aesthetics. For instance, while an unconventional layout may look stunning, if it confuses users or makes navigation harder, it can do more harm than good. All right, let's make this a little bit more interactive. I want you to pause the video right now and head to the comment section. Tell me which bottom navigation design you like the most. Is it option A, clean and simple? Option B, with that sleek line above the active tab? Option C, minimalist with a smooth interactive feel? Or option D, with a more distinctive custom look? Drop your favorites in the comments, A, B, C, or D, and tell me why. I'm curious to see which style you prefer. Tip: separate bottom navigation from main content. Remember when I mentioned you should stick around till the end because there's one big mistake that even pro designers keep making? Well, here it is: not separating the bottom navigation from the main content. Adding a subtle, soft outline or a 1-pixel border around the navigation bar can create a gentle but clear separation. This method is unobtrusive yet effective at visually distinguishing the navigation area as a distinct element. Tip: you can use background color to separate bottom navigation from main content. Another approach is to differentiate the background colors of the bottom navigation and the main screen. For instance, if your main screen is white, consider using a light gray for the navigation bar. This contrast creates a sense of depth, making the navigation area feel like a distinct, interactive element of the app. Using a shadow is also a great way to achieve this separation. A small, soft shadow above the navigation bar can create an elevated effect, giving the impression that the navigation is floating above the rest of the content. However, it's important to keep the shadow subtle. An overly large or harsh shadow can draw attention away from the content and detract from the sleekness of your design. Tip: choose neutral colors and avoid using too many colors in both your top and bottom navigation. It's best to keep the navigation colors neutral, such as white, gray, or dark tones. This approach ensures that the navigation doesn't distract from the main content of the app. By reserving brighter or primary colors for key actions on the main screen, you help those elements stand out and draw attention to what matters most. It's also important to avoid using too many different colors between the top and bottom navigation bars. This can lead to a disjointed visual experience and distract users from the app's content. Keeping a consistent color palette between these two elements creates a cohesive and harmonious design. When choosing colors for your navigation, it's crucial to consider how they complement your app's overall theme and branding. While neutral colors like white, gray, or dark shades are generally recommended for their versatility and subtlety, it's perfectly fine to opt for a different color if it enhances your brand's identity. However, the color should not be so bright or overpowering that it overwhelms the main content or disrupts the user's focus. It should complement the primary colors used on the main screen, enhancing key actions and content rather than competing with them. By the way, everything that you have learned so far here is from our UX UI Design Mastery course, where we have more than 50 lessons like this one, all designed to take you from a beginner to a UX UI Design Pro. If you want to know more, the link's in the description. Tip: avoid poor contrast for inactive states. A common pitfall is using poor contrast for inactive icons and labels, making them difficult to see or understand, especially for users with visual impairments. It's important to strike a balance between visibility and distinction. Instead of opting for drastically different colors, consider slightly reducing the opacity of inactive elements. This approach maintains a cohesive color scheme while clearly differentiating active and inactive states. A good starting point is to aim for an opacity level that is noticeable yet not too faint. The Web Content Accessibility Guidelines recommend a minimum contrast ratio of 3:1 for graphical elements and user interface components. To make sure your color choices meet accessibility standards, use tools like the Web Aim Contrast Checker. Tip: add sleek micro-interactions. Now that you mastered all important fundamentals and your bottom navigation bar has a solid base, it's time to take it completely to the next level to absolutely delight your users and make them go, wow. A lot of beginner designers skip this. Their bottom navigation is just static. You tap and it changes, but there's no feeling. It's like pressing a light switch with no click. Micro interactions and smooth transitions make your bottom navigation feel responsive, polished, and honestly, just more fun to use. Tip 1: tap feedback. When a user taps an icon, show a quick visual response, like a color change, scale up, or a ripple effect. Tip 2: when switching between tabs, don't just snap to the next one. Add a small sliding underline or animate the icon smoothly into place. Tip 3: transitions between screens. When a user switches screens, don't make it feel like they teleported. Add a soft fade or a side slide transition. It makes navigation feel connected. These little details, they're what's separating boring designs from apps that feel amazing. So, next time you design a bottom navigation, don't just make it work. Make it feel great. If you made it all the way to the end, congratulations! You now know how to design a perfect bottom navigation bar. And hopefully, your navigation will never look like this ever again. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, it would mean a lot if you shared it with others. Let's make every bottom navigation bar out there awesome. Also, let me know in the comments, which tip was your favorite? I'd love to hear what you found most helpful. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Have an amazing day.